I was in my garage workshop in Tacoma, standing over a half-sanded walnut rocking chair while rain ticked softly on the door. When my son's girlfriend said, "That thing is a waste of space," I didn't answer right away. I just set the sandpaper down, the way you do when you don't trust your hands. A few minutes later, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. An orange consignment tag tucked under one of the chair's runners. I pulled it free, turned it over, and saw a handwritten price. That was the moment I understood Thanksgiving was going to leave a mark on our family. But it didn't start there. 6 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday evening, my son Aaron called while I was in the same workshop. The radio was low, an old baseball game I wasn't really listening to. The chair was in front of me, unfinished but close. My late wife, Elise, had started it before she got sick. She'd wanted it ready for the first grandbaby who actually sits still, she used to joke. Elise has been gone 3 years. Some days I can move through the house without thinking about it. Other days, the quiet feels heavy, like it settles on your shoulders the minute you walk in. Aaron cleared his throat on the phone. "Dad, I wanted to give you a heads up," he said. His voice was careful in a way I recognized. "I'm bringing someone to Thanksgiving." "Someone," I repeated, keeping my tone even. "Her name's Vivian," he said. "We've been seeing each other about 5 months. She's good. And she's good with Noah. I think it's time you met her." My grandson Noah was 6, a soft-spoken kid who watched rooms before he entered them. His mother had left 2 years ago, and Aaron had been doing his best since then, double shifts at the distribution center, early mornings, late nights. I handled school pickup and most afternoons. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. 5 months wasn't nothing. It also wasn't a lifetime. "That's pretty serious," I said. "I know it's fast," Aaron replied, a little defensive, "but she makes me happy, and Noah likes her. That's what matters, right?" I wanted to say Noah's comfort mattered more than likes. I wanted to ask what good with Noah meant, exactly, and whether Aaron was seeing what he needed to see. But I could hear Elise in my head, plain as day, like she was standing beside the workbench. "Pick your battles, Cal. Let him make his choices." So I said, "All right, bring her." After that call, I kept working. I ran my palm along the armrest Elise had shaped, following the curve she'd drawn in pencil. It still amazed me how her hands understood wood, how she could look at a board and already see what it could become. In the weeks leading up to Thanksgiving, things shifted in small ways. Aaron stopped coming inside when he picked Noah up after work. Instead, Vivian would pull into the driveway in a white SUV that looked like it belonged in a showroom, not in front of my worn little Craftsman. She wouldn't come to the door. She'd honk, one quick, sharp sound, like Noah was late for a flight. Noah would grab his backpack, glance back at me, and hurry out. The first time it happened, I told myself she was in a rush. The second time, I noticed she didn't even look toward the house. The Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Noah was at my kitchen table with a math workbook open in front of him. I was rolling out pie dough, flour dusting my hands, the smell of cinnamon already in the air. Elise's recipe cards were propped against the canister like they always were this time of year, her handwriting neat and steady. Noah wasn't doing math, he was pushing his pencil around like it weighed too much. "You doing okay, buddy?" I asked. He shrugged without looking up. Then, in a voice that sounded smaller than usual, he said, "Vivian says Grandma Elise's chair takes up too much space in my room." My hands paused over the dough. I didn't stop breathing. I didn't raise my voice. I just let the silence sit for a second, because sometimes a kid will keep talking if you don't fill the air. "It's in the corner by the window," he added. "She says my room needs to be more modern. She wants all white furniture." All white. In a 6-year-old's room. "And what did your dad say?" I asked, still calm. Noah's shoulders rose and fell. "Dad says I should be grateful someone cares enough to fix it." I washed my hands slowly, dried them, and sat across from him. "Noah," I said, "do you want your room redecorated?" He finally looked up. He had Elise's eyes, steady, a little too old when he was trying not to make trouble. "I like the chair," he whispered. "Then it stays," I said, simple, firm. "That chair is yours. Nobody decides what happens to it but you." He blinked hard, like he was holding something back, and nodded once. A few minutes later, I heard tires on gravel outside, the kind of careful roll you hear when someone doesn't want to scuff the driveway. Noah's pencil stopped moving. I didn't look out the window right away. I just waited. I didn't say anything when I heard the car settle outside. Noah sat very still at the table, his workbook open like a shield. A moment later the honk came, short, impatient. Noah slid off his chair and went to the mudroom without being told. He moved like he was trying not to be noticed. I watched him lace his shoes with small, careful fingers. When he grabbed his coat, he hesitated, then glanced at me. "It's okay," I said quietly. "I'll see you Thursday." He nodded, but his face didn't lift. Through the front window I saw Vivian in the driver's seat, one hand on the wheel, the other holding her phone up near her mouth like she was sending a voice message. Noah opened the passenger door and climbed in. She didn't turn her head toward the house. The SUV backed out smoothly and disappeared down the street. When the door clicked shut behind him, the house felt larger. I went back to the pie crust, but my mind stayed on one sentence. Grandma Elise's chair takes up too much space. That chair wasn't just furniture. Elise had started it the week we found out Aaron's ex was pregnant. She'd sketched it out on butcher paper spread across the dining table, tapping her pencil against the margin while she talked about it like it was already real. "He's going to have a place in this world that's steady," she'd said, "even if everything else changes." She never got to finish it. The treatments wore her down fast. By the time she stopped going to the shop with me, the chair was still just parts, legs, slats, the curved runners stacked in a corner. After she died, I found her notebook in the workshop drawer, filled with measurements, notes, and little arrows pointing to details I wouldn't have thought of. I built it exactly as she planned. Noah had been small enough then that his feet didn't touch the floor when he sat in it. He used to hold his stuffed dog in his lap and rock gently while I read him a book. Sometimes he'd fall asleep in it, head tipped to the side, and I'd carry him to bed and leave the chair rocking slowly in the dark. It lived in the corner of his room by the window where the afternoon light came in warm. And now someone wanted it gone because it didn't match an aesthetic. On Thanksgiving morning, the weather did what it always does in this part of Washington. Cold air, clean sky, and that sharp smell of wet leaves. I started cooking before sunrise. It wasn't about the food, not really. It was about keeping the day familiar. Turkey with Elise's herb rub, stuffing with too much sage, sweet potato casserole with the praline topping she'd perfected over decades. I moved through the kitchen on habit, pulling bowls from cabinets without thinking, tasting gravy with the same spoon she used to tap against the rim. Every so often, I'd look at the empty spot by the sink where she used to stand, and then I'd turn my attention back to what was in front of me. At 2 o'clock, Aaron's car pulled in. Noah ran ahead up the walkway like he always did, eager to be useful, calling out, "Grandpa!" before he even opened the door. He came in smelling like outside, cold air and school soap, and he went straight to the kitchen like he belonged there. I smiled despite myself. Then the other vehicle arrived behind them, quiet and expensive, stopping with perfect alignment in the driveway. Vivian stepped out in heels that didn't make sense for my cracked walkway. She wore a white outfit that looked pressed into place like it couldn't tolerate wrinkles. She didn't hurry. She walked like the day was arranged for her comfort. Aaron came around and put his hand at her lower back. He looked proud, nervous, and hopeful all at once. "Dad," he said, "this is Vivian." Vivian extended her hand. Her nails were immaculate, pale and glossy. "It's nice to finally visit," she said. "Not meet you, not be here. Visit, like my house was a stop on her way to somewhere she actually cared about." "Come in," I said because I wasn't going to start a fight on the doorstep. "Dinner's almost ready." She stepped inside and did a quick scan of the living room, the way a person looks at a rental listing. Her eyes moved over Elise's quilts folded on the arm of the couch, the photos on the mantel, the small dents on the coffee table from years of use. "Charming," she said. Her tone made the word mean something else. "Very traditional." Aaron didn't seem to hear it. He was already halfway to the kitchen, drawn by smell and memory. Noah slipped down the hall toward his room like he was trying to get there first. Vivienne paused at a framed photo of Elise and me at our anniversary dinner, taken not long before her diagnosis. She pointed at Elise's face without really looking at mine. "That's your late wife," she said. "Elise," I answered. Aaron hovered near her shoulder, smiling like he expected a kinder response. "She was, creative, right?" Vivienne asked. "Made furniture and stuff?" My jaw tightened, but I didn't correct her sharply. I just said, "She was a cabinet maker, built custom pieces for clients." Vivienne nodded like I'd confirmed a trivia fact. Then, almost casually, she said, "Aaron mentioned you're still holding on to a lot of her things." The way she said things made it sound like clutter, like evidence. "I'm holding on to my wife," I said. She gave a small smile that didn't soften her eyes. "Grief takes time," she said, like she was explaining something from a brochure. "It's just, sometimes people get stuck." I didn't answer. I walked toward the kitchen because silence is sometimes the safest way to keep a moment from becoming a scene. A few minutes later, Noah appeared at the edge of the hallway and called softly, "Grandpa?" I stepped toward him. He was standing in his bedroom doorway, one hand on the frame like he was bracing himself. "She wants to see my room," he said. "I wanted you to come first." I looked past him and saw the rocking chair in the corner, the stuffed dog sitting in it like a guard. Noah wasn't asking if I'd fight, he was asking if I'd stand there. "I'm here," I told him, and then we heard the click of heels coming down the hall. Vivienne appeared in the doorway with Aaron just behind her. Noah shifted slightly so he wasn't directly in front of the chair, like he was trying to protect it without making it obvious. Vivienne didn't greet him. She didn't ask if she could come in. She just stepped into the room and looked around as if she'd already decided what needed to change. Her eyes landed on the chair in the corner. "So this is it," she said. "The famous chair." Noah's voice stayed small. "Grandma Elise made it for me." Vivienne walked over and ran her fingertips along the armrest. "Not like you touch something you respect, more like you're checking the finish on a countertop." "It's well made," she said. "Walnut, right? Solid. These older handmade pieces are having a moment." "It's not going anywhere," I said. She let out a light laugh. "Oh, I'm not talking about selling it. I'm talking about placement." Aaron smiled, eager to smooth it over. "Vivienne's starting her own design thing," he said. "She's got a great eye." Vivienne tilted her head toward the chair again. "Tyler, sorry, Noah. His room needs cohesion. Right now it's a mix of a lot of eras." Noah's shoulders tightened. He looked at the floor. I kept my voice even. "He likes his room." "Kids don't always know what's best for them," Vivienne said like she was stating a fact. "They need guidance. This chair is taking up valuable space that could be used for something more functional. A reading nook, cleaner lines, light palette. It'll photograph beautifully." I waited a beat. "Photograph." She didn't flinch. "For my portfolio," she said, "it's a perfect first project. A child's room transformation, before and after. Family clients love that." She was talking about my grandson's room as if it were a showroom. Noah glanced at me, quick, like he was checking whether I heard what he heard. "His room isn't a project," I said, "and he doesn't need it transformed." Vivienne's smile stayed in place, but the warmth didn't show up. "I'm not trying to offend you," she said. "I'm being practical. Holding on to furniture from someone who's passed in a child's room, it can be a little heavy, don't you think?" Aaron shifted his weight. His eyes flicked to Noah, then back to Vivienne. That was the moment I saw the problem clearly. Aaron wasn't cruel. He was tired. He was hungry for peace, and she could tell. "That's enough," I said. Not loud, just final. Vivienne lifted her hands slightly, palms out, like she was the reasonable one. "It's Thanksgiving," she said. "Let's not do this in front of a child." Noah's face stayed still, but his hand tightened around the strap of his backpack like he needed something to hold. I looked at Aaron. "This chair stays. End of discussion." Aaron swallowed. "Dad, she's just saying maybe we could store it somewhere safe, for now. Noah can have something more age-appropriate." Noah's chin lifted slightly. He didn't speak, but I could see him making himself smaller inside his own body. I stepped closer to the chair and placed my hand on the top rail. "The chair isn't the problem," I said. "And Noah doesn't need age-appropriate when he already knows what he wants." Vivian's expression tightened. "We'll talk later," she said, turning away. "Dinner smells good." She walked out first. Aaron followed, hesitating at the door long enough to give me an apologetic look that didn't fix anything. When their footsteps faded, Noah exhaled like he'd been holding his breath. He climbed into the chair without asking. The stuffed dog slid into his lap. He rocked once, gently, like he was testing whether the world was still steady. I pulled a stool closer and sat beside him. "It's okay," I said. Noah didn't cry. He just rested his forehead against my arm for a moment, quiet and heavy in a way that didn't match his age. After a minute, he whispered, "She doesn't like Grandma." "I know," I said. We stayed there until Aaron called from the kitchen that dinner was ready. At the table, I used Elise's good china, the same set we'd gotten as a wedding gift. Vivian ran her finger lightly along the edge of a plate. "This pattern is vintage," she said. Aaron gave a thin laugh and started talking about work. Noah picked at his food. I served him anyway, small portions, the way Elise used to. I carved the turkey and kept my eyes on what I was doing. Vivian's questions came in a steady stream, smooth and polite on the surface. "How many bedrooms is this? How many bathrooms? And the lot, what is it, about a quarter acre? These houses in this neighborhood have appreciated, haven't they?" I set down the carving knife and looked up. "Why are you asking?" She didn't hesitate. "Just making conversation," she said. "It's a lot of house for one person. Maintenance must be exhausting." Aaron cleared his throat. "Vivian's just concerned," he said. Vivian nodded. "And realistic. Roofs, plumbing, older electrical. These places become money pits. My parents downsized, and it was the best thing they did." I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just watched her. Because once you've worked with wood your whole life, you learn something. If you want to understand pressure, you don't look at the surface. You watch where the grain tries to split. After dinner, Aaron and Noah carried plates to the sink. Vivian followed me into the kitchen like she'd been waiting for a moment alone. "I think we got off on the wrong foot," she said. I rinsed a serving spoon slowly, listening to the water run. "I really do want what's best for this family," she continued. "Aaron is drowning. Noah needs stability. And you're alone in a house that's too big. You don't have to live like this." I turned off the faucet. "I'm fine." Her eyes stayed steady on mine. "Are you?" she asked. "Because Aaron told me you barely leave the house except for Noah. You spend all your time in the garage making things no one needs. That's not living." I didn't react to the insult. I reacted to the information. "Aaron told you that," I repeated. She smiled slightly, like she'd scored a point. "He worries about you," she said. "He worries about the future. Elder care. What happens if you fall? Who handles everything?" I dried my hands and folded the towel once, carefully. Then I said, "What else did he tell you?" Vivian's gaze flickered for the first time. And that was my first real confirmation that she wasn't here for family traditions. She was here for inventory. A moment later, Aaron stepped back into the kitchen to grab Noah's water bottle from the counter. Vivian's voice softened instantly. "Aaron," she said sweetly, "can you bring the pies into the living room? I want to show your dad something." Aaron nodded without thinking, already moving. Vivian reached into her purse and pulled out a small, glossy card, the kind you leave on counters and bulletin boards. She placed it on the kitchen table between us. At the top was the name of a consignment shop in downtown Tacoma, and beneath it, in neat handwriting, was a line that made my stomach go still. "Walnut rocker, estimate $6,500, $8,000, ask about pickup." I didn't pick the card up right away. I looked at it the way you look at a tool you didn't put on your bench. Not angry, just alert. Vivian kept her hand near it like she was ready to slide it closer if I pretended not to see it. "It's just information," she said. A professional opinion. Nothing wrong with knowing what you have. What I have, I repeated. She gave a small shrug. Assets, she said plainly. That chair is sitting in a kid's room getting scuffed. Meanwhile, Aaron is struggling. Aaron's voice floated in from the living room. He was asking Noah if he wanted whipped cream. Noah answered quietly. The normal sound of them made this conversation feel even colder. Vivian leaned in a fraction. Aaron told me about the debt, she said. He's trying, but it's too much. Interest is eating him alive. You could fix it. I kept my hands on the towel, still folded. You want me to sell my home? I want you to make a practical decision, she corrected. Downsize, senior living, something easy. You take the profit and help your son. Everybody wins. And the chair, I said. Vivian's mouth tightened slightly. The chair can be sold, she said, or at the very least moved out of Noah's room until— No, I said, calm, quiet, final. Her eyes sharpened. You're being stubborn, she replied. This is why families fall apart, because people cling to the past instead of helping the living. I thought about Elise's hands on that chair, about how she'd wanted Noah to have something steady. Then I thought about what Vivian had just done, walked into my home, found a private weakness, and tried to use it like a lever. I slid the consignment card back across the table toward her. You shouldn't have brought this here, I said. It's a business card, she said, but her voice had lost some softness. Don't be dramatic. I didn't argue with the word. I didn't debate her intentions. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded once, the way you do when you've made a decision. Okay, I said. Vivian blinked, like she expected more. I picked up my phone from the counter and unlocked it. Not to call anyone, not to threaten anything. To check what I already had. When you've lived long enough, you learn to keep certain things organized. Elise used to say it was boring. I used to agree. Then life happened, and boring started to look like peace. Vivian watched my hands like she was trying to read my next move. I opened a folder in my notes app labeled Noah. Inside were the practical things: school schedules, allergy info, pickup authorizations, emergency contacts. Aaron and I kept it updated because Aaron's life was chaos on a good week. I scrolled, found what I needed, and set the phone down again. Vivian exhaled through her nose. What are you doing? I'm making sure I'm clear, I said. Clear about what? I turned slightly so I could see the doorway to the living room. Aaron was on the floor with Noah, building something out of blocks. Noah's shoulders were still tight from earlier, but he was trying. Vivian followed my gaze and softened her face again, like she could switch versions of herself depending on the audience. I didn't give her that time. In my head, I laid it out the way I lay out a cut list before building. Step 1, protect Noah's space. Step 2, separate Aaron's money problems from my home. Step 3, make sure no one touches Elise's work without permission. Vivian's voice came sharper. If you cared about your son, you'd want to help him, she said. Do you even know the number? Do you know how bad it is? I looked back at her. How bad is it? Her expression shifted, almost pleased. 70,000, she said. Credit cards, old medical bills, lawyer fees from custody. He's too proud to ask you. I held her gaze. And you know that because he told you. Yes, she said like it proved trust. He told me because he needs help, and you're sitting on equity, in this house, in all this furniture. It's wasteful. Wasteful. That word again. I nodded slowly as if I was considering it. Vivian leaned in. You could sell, move into something simpler. Give Aaron enough to breathe. Fix his credit. Fix the car. Give Noah what he needs. Maybe even give him siblings someday. You're the only obstacle. I didn't react to the guilt. I didn't react to the pressure. I just asked, and you? Her eyes narrowed. What about me? You talk like you're managing Aaron's finances already, I said. You talk like you're making decisions for Noah, like you're entitled to my house. So I'll ask directly, what are you getting out of this? Her cheeks colored slightly. Then she straightened her shoulders. I'm getting a future, she said. A stable one, the kind Aaron deserves. I nodded again, still calm. How much debt are you in? I asked. The question landed clean. Vivian's eyes flicked toward the living room, checking if Aaron could hear. Then back to me. "That's private," she said. "It isn't," I replied. "Not if you're trying to solve your private problem with my family." Her mouth tightened. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you brought a consignment card into my kitchen," I said. "I know you've been asking about my home value since you arrived. I know you called my wife's work stuff and called her chair a waste." Vivian's voice dropped. "Fine," she said. "You want honesty? Yes, I have business debt, startup costs. It doesn't make me a bad person. It makes me realistic." "How much?" I asked again. She stared at me for a long moment, and I watched the calculation behind her eyes, like she was deciding whether the truth would help her or hurt her. "About 90,000, she said finally. "But I have a plan." I didn't move. "And your plan involves my son," I said. Vivian's jaw flexed. "My plan involves building a life," she insisted. "Love doesn't pay bills. Money does." I didn't argue with that either. I just let the sentence sit, the way you let glue set before you clamp it. Aaron walked in then, carrying 2 plates of pie. "Everything okay?" he asked, smiling like he needed the answer to be yes. Vivian turned instantly. Her face softened, her voice warmed. "We're fine," she said. "Just talking about future planning." I looked at Aaron. "Your girlfriend just told me your debt amount," I said calmly. "And her debt amount." Aaron's smile faltered. "What?" Vivian's eyes widened slightly, warning me without saying it. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't say anything cruel. I just reached for a drawer beside the stove and pulled out a thin folder, the one I kept for household documents, insurance, deed information, basic stuff. Elise and I always kept it in the same place. I set it on the table. Aaron stared at it like it was heavier than paper. Vivian's voice went tight. "What are you doing now?" "I'm making sure this stays simple," I said. Then I opened the folder and slid out one page, a signed note Aaron had written months earlier, authorizing me as Noah's emergency pickup and temporary guardian if something happened during Aaron's overnight shifts. I placed it face up on the table, not as a threat, as a reminder of what actually mattered. Aaron's eyes dropped to the paper. His face changed, slow and quiet. He wasn't scared. He was suddenly awake. Vivian's smile was gone completely now, and Noah's laughter drifted in from the living room, small and bright for the first time all day. I rested my hand on the folder and said, "Aaron, after dessert, you and I are going to talk, alone." Then I waited. Aaron didn't answer right away. He looked from the paper to me, then toward the living room where Noah was still laughing at something on the TV. His face carried that familiar mix, tired, protective, and embarrassed all at once. Vivian stepped closer to him, like she could physically reclaim control. "Caleb is overreacting," she said, using my name like it was a soft correction. "I didn't do anything wrong. I was trying to help." Aaron's voice came out quieter than usual. "Help who?" he asked. Vivian blinked. "Your family," she said quickly. "You, Noah, your dad. We all need a plan. It's not personal." Aaron set the pie plates down on the counter. He didn't look at the pie again. "Dad," he said, "let's just—" I raised a hand slightly, not to cut him off, just to slow the pace. "We'll talk after Noah goes to bed," I said. "In the den." Vivian gave a short, humorless laugh. "No," she said. "We can talk now. I'm not being pushed out like I'm some stranger." Aaron turned his head toward her. "Vivian," he said. "You kind of are." Her eyes flashed. "Excuse me?" Aaron rubbed his forehead once like he was trying to keep himself steady. "I brought you here because I thought you were good for Noah, and good for me." "I am," she insisted. "You're just letting your dad poison you because he's stuck in the past." I didn't respond to that. I didn't need to. Aaron heard it. From the living room, Noah called, "Dad, can we do the whipped cream again?" Aaron looked toward him. His face softened for a second. "Yeah, buddy, in a minute." Then he looked back at Vivian. "Not in front of him," Aaron said. We're not doing this in front of him. Vivian's shoulders tightened. So now I'm the problem. Aaron didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult her. He just asked, "Did you really tell my dad the chair is worth $8,000? Vivian held his gaze. "That's what it's worth," she said. "Maybe more. I got an estimate." Aaron swallowed. "Why would you get an estimate?" "So you'd know your options," she said, as if it was obvious. "Aaron, you told me you're suffocating. You can't keep paying minimums forever. That chair is sitting there doing nothing while you're killing yourself working overtime." "It's my mother's chair," Aaron said quietly. "It's wood," Vivian replied. "Your mother is gone." The kitchen went still. I felt my hands go cold, but I kept them where they were, resting on the edge of the table. Aaron didn't explode. He didn't yell. He just stared at her, like he was taking an image he couldn't unsee. "Noah loves that chair," Aaron said. Vivian's voice sharpened. "Noah is 6. He'll love whatever you put in his room if you make it nice. White furniture, clean lines, a real design. I could make his room something you'd be proud of." Aaron's eyes narrowed slightly. "For your portfolio," he said. Vivian hesitated, just a fraction. Aaron nodded once, like he'd confirmed something. "You were taking photos," he said. "You've been measuring. You told me you were planning." Vivian lifted her chin. "That's what designers do." "No," Aaron said, still calm. "That's what people do when they're treating my kid like a prop." Vivian stepped closer, lowering her voice in that way people do when they want to sound intimate and reasonable. "Aaron, listen," she said. "You told me you're $70,000 in debt. That isn't a small problem. You need help. Your dad has resources. This house—" Aaron held up a hand, mirroring the way I had earlier. "Stop talking about my dad's house," he said. Vivian's eyes widened. "I'm talking about reality." Aaron nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "Then let's talk reality. Dad, did you tell her about your retirement savings?" I looked at Aaron. "I told you," I said. "In private. Months ago, when you asked me how I planned for retirement." Aaron's jaw tightened. He turned back to Vivian. "So, you asked," he said. Vivian gave a small shrug. "I asked because you're planning a future with me," she said. "I needed to understand what your family situation looks like." "My family situation," Aaron repeated, tasting the words. "Or my dad's bank balance." Vivian's voice rose slightly, not loud, but sharper. "You're acting like money is dirty," she said. "It's not. Money is what keeps Noah safe. Money is what keeps you from drowning." Aaron's face tightened. "And money is what you need," he said. $90,000. Vivian's cheeks flushed. "It's not like that." "It is," Aaron said quietly. "Because you didn't tell me until Dad asked you. You didn't tell me you were in that deep." "I didn't want to scare you," she said, and her voice had a thin edge now. "I have a plan. My business will—" "You don't have a business yet," Aaron said. "You have debt, and you have a plan that starts with selling things that aren't yours." Vivian's eyes swung to me. "You're enjoying this," she said. I shook my head once. "No," I replied. "I'm watching you." Vivian's lips pressed together. "Fine," she said, turning back to Aaron. "So what? You're going to choose him over me?" Aaron's expression didn't change. "I'm choosing Noah," he said, "and I'm choosing what's right." Vivian's voice tightened. "You're making a mistake." Aaron nodded. "Maybe," he said. "But it's mine." He glanced toward the living room again. Noah had gone quiet. I realized he was listening. Kids always are, even when you think they aren't. Aaron walked to the doorway and lowered his voice. "Noah," he said gently. "Hey, buddy, can you go wash your hands? We'll do dessert in a minute." Noah appeared in the doorway, stuffed dog tucked under his arm. His eyes moved between the adults like he was reading weather. "Okay," he said, and padded down the hall. When he was out of sight, Aaron turned back. "Vivian," he said, "you need to leave." Vivian stared at him. Her face changed, anger first, then something like panic. "You can't be serious." "I am," Aaron said. She glanced at me again, searching for an opening. "Caleb, tell him," she said. "This is ridiculous. I'm trying to help." I didn't move. "If you were trying to help," I said, "you would have asked Noah what he wanted. You would have asked permission before measuring his room. You would have respected Elise's work instead of pricing it." Vivian's eyes hardened. "You're obsessed with your dead wife," she snapped. "This whole house is a shrine. It's unhealthy." Aaron's face went still. Then he said very quietly, "Don't talk about my mom like that." Vivian reached for her purse like it was armor. "Fine," she said, voice shaking with frustration. "You want to stay broke? Stay broke. You want to keep living in a museum? Live in a museum." Aaron opened the front door without a word. Vivian walked out, heels clicking hard against the wood floor, and paused on the porch just long enough to say, "When reality catches up to you, don't call me." The door shut. The SUV started. And then it was quiet again, except for the faucet running in the bathroom where Noah was washing his hands like he'd been told. Aaron stayed by the door for a moment, not moving. I didn't rush him. I didn't comfort him with big speeches. I just waited, because some realizations have to settle on their own. Finally, Aaron turned and walked back to the kitchen table. He sat down slowly, like his body had decided it couldn't hold itself up anymore. "I'm sorry," he said, staring at the consignment card still on the table. "I didn't see it." I slid the card into the folder with the household documents, not to hide it, just to keep it as proof of what happened. Then I sat across from him. "After Noah eats dessert," I said, "you and I are going to talk about your debt, the real numbers, not guesses." Aaron nodded once, eyes down. From the hallway, Noah's small voice called, "Dad? Grandpa, is it okay now?" Aaron closed his eyes briefly, then stood up. "It's okay," he called back, gentle. "Come on, bud. Let's have pie." And as we walked into the living room together, I felt something settle in me. Not relief, not victory. Just a clear understanding that the next part had to be handled carefully, in order, with no shortcuts. That night, after Noah fell asleep on the couch under Elise's quilt, Aaron and I sat in the den with the lights low. The den was the one room I hadn't changed much since Elise died. Same lamp by the chair, same old bookshelf she built in our first year here. The quiet in that room wasn't empty, it was settled. Aaron stared at his hands for a long time before he spoke. "I didn't want you to know how bad it was," he said. I nodded once. "Tell me the real number," I said. He exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding it in for months. 72, he said. 72,000 and change. I didn't react. I didn't judge him with my face. I just reached for a legal pad from the side table and slid it between us with a pen. "Write it down," I said. "Every card, every interest rate, minimum payments." Aaron looked up. "You're not mad?" "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm focused." He swallowed, then started listing them. One card, then another, then two more. A personal loan he'd taken when the car broke down. Medical bills he'd been paying in small amounts to keep collections from calling during Noah's school day. As he wrote, his shoulders lowered little by little, the way they do when someone stops hiding. When he finished, he pushed the pad toward me. I looked at the page for a moment, then turned it slightly so he could see it again. "This is workable," I said. Aaron let out a bitter little laugh. "Workable," he repeated, like he didn't believe the word. "It is," I said. "Not easy, not quick, but workable." He leaned back and rubbed his eyes. "I thought if I just worked harder," he said, "it would go away." "That's what debt does," I said. "It convinces you shame is the price of entry." Aaron was quiet. Then he said, "She asked me about you." I didn't need him to explain. "I told her," he admitted, "about your savings, about the house being paid off. I told her because she was listening. She made it feel like I wasn't failing." I nodded slowly. "And then she started solving your problem with other people's things," I said. Aaron's voice went flat. She talked about the chair like it was inventory. She talked about Noah's room like it was a showroom, I replied. Aaron stared at the pad again. I feel stupid. You feel tired, I said, and tired people confuse attention with care. He swallowed hard and looked away, blinking more than he needed to. Noah didn't like her, he said quietly. He told me she smelled wrong. That made me breathe out a small, surprised laugh. Aaron didn't smile, but the tension in his face loosened for a second. Kids have good instincts, I said. Aaron nodded. I'm glad you were there, he said. I don't know what I would have done if she'd gotten into Noah's room when I wasn't paying attention. I didn't answer right away. I was thinking in steps again, the way I always do when something needs to be handled cleanly. Step 1. Make sure nothing of Elise's is moved, sold, or picked up. Step 2. Get Aaron's finances stabilized without putting my home on the table. Step 3. Put boundaries in writing so nobody can argue later. I stood up and walked to the filing cabinet in the corner. I pulled out a thin folder labeled Estate, House, and brought it back to the table. Aaron's eyes followed it. Dad, I'm not selling the house, I said calmly before he could finish, but I am going to help you. His shoulders sagged with a relief that looked almost painful. Then his face tightened again. I don't want you to lose anything because of me. You won't, I said. We'll do it correctly. I opened the folder and pulled out a blank promissory note template Elise and I had used once when we loaned money to a cousin years ago. Boring paperwork, necessary paperwork. Aaron stared at it. You're going to make me sign something? I'm going to make us both protected, I said. It keeps this clean. It keeps it from being emotional, and it keeps anyone else from claiming you were given money or that you're entitled to more. Aaron's jaw clenched. Like her, he said. Like anyone, I replied. We talked through a number I could actually afford without touching the house. A loan from my retirement. Enough to pay off the highest interest cards immediately and stop the bleeding. Not a handout. A plan. We set the terms in plain language. 0 interest, flexible repayment, automatic transfer when he could. Pause clause if he lost his job. No shame built into it. Aaron signed it without argument. His hand shook a little. When he finished, he slid it back to me like it weighed something. Thank you, he said. I nodded once. We're family, I replied, but we still do things right. The next morning, I made coffee and did something else Elise would have appreciated. I confirmed facts with a third party. I called the consignment shop on the card. The woman who answered sounded upbeat, busy. I gave my name and asked if anyone had requested an estimate for a walnut rocking chair. She paused. We don't usually give formal appraisals over the phone, she said carefully. I'm not asking for an appraisal, I said. I'm asking if my property was discussed. Another pause. Then she said, One moment. I heard muffled conversation, then she came back, voice more cautious. We did speak with a woman earlier this week, she said. She described a walnut rocker and asked about resale range. We told her we'd need to see it for anything official. Did she schedule pickup? I asked. She asked how pickup works, the woman said. We told her we only schedule pickups with the owner's written authorization. I closed my eyes for a second, not because I was overwhelmed, but because the confirmation landed exactly where I expected it to. Thank you, I said. That's all I needed. After I hung up, I sent Aaron a short text. I called the shop. She asked about pickup. They require written owner authorization. I want you to know that's what she was working toward. He responded a few minutes later. I'm done. I blocked her. That part was simple. The next part needed to be steady. Over the following week, Aaron and I did the things that don't make good stories, but they make good lives. He pulled his credit reports and froze them, just in case anyone tried anything. He changed passwords. He closed 2 cards and consolidated the rest. He set up automatic minimum payments so nothing slipped when he was tired. On my end, I made copies of key documents and locked the originals in the small safe Elise and I kept in the closet. I also wrote one clear note and stuck it inside the folder where anyone could find it if they went looking. No items belonging to Elise or Noah are to be removed or sold without my written consent. Not because Aaron would do that, because I'd learned how quickly someone else might try. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, a text came in from an unknown number. It was Vivienne. Hope you're happy. Aaron blocked me. You've ruined everything. I'm going to lose my business because no one will give me a chance. I read it once. Then I set the phone face down. I made tea. I waited. I let the impulse to argue burn off on its own, the way I let a finish dry before I touch it. Then I picked up the phone again and typed one reply. I didn't ruin anything. You did that when you tried to turn my family into inventory. I hope you find help, but you won't find it here. I blocked the number immediately after sending it. That was the end of her access, but it wasn't the end of what we needed to repair. Because Noah still had a room he was guarding like it might be taken from him, and Aaron still had a habit of swallowing problems until they turned into emergencies. So, on a quiet Saturday in early December, I went into Noah's room with a tape measure, not to change anything, not to redecorate, not to improve it, to do one small, respectful thing. I checked the chair's runners and tightened the joints Elise had flagged in her notebook years ago, the ones she said might loosen with time. Noah stood in the doorway watching me, stuffed dog tucked under his arm. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Maintenance," I said, "so it stays strong." He stepped closer. "It's not going away?" he asked, voice careful. I looked up at him. "No," I said, "it's not going anywhere." Noah nodded once, like he was saving the sentence somewhere safe inside himself. Then he climbed into the chair, rocked gently, and for the first time in days, his shoulders dropped. I stayed there a moment longer than I needed to, just listening to the quiet creak of walnut doing what it was built to do. And then I went back to the workshop, because some repairs happen with words, and some happen with steady hands and time. Part 7 of 7. Epilogue Plus. Series Seed plus CTA. By mid-December, the house felt normal again, not the same as when Elise was alive. It never goes back to that, but normal in the way a place can feel after you stop bracing for impact. I went back to my routines. Early coffee, a short walk while the neighborhood was still quiet, then a few hours in the workshop with the door cracked just enough to let in cold air and the sound of rain. One Saturday, I pulled every box of Elise's sketches from the top shelf in the garage and carried them to the dining table. I didn't do it in one emotional wave. I did it the way I do most hard things, one box at a time. Aaron came over after work and sat across from me while I sorted, not to sell anything, not to move on, just to put her work in order so it wasn't left to chance. We took photos of each page. We labeled folders. We wrote dates when we could remember them. Some pages had little notes in the margins, wood species, a client name, a tiny drawing of a hinge, the kind of details only she cared about. Noah joined us for 10 minutes at a time, then wandered off, then came back. He kept checking his room like he needed to confirm the chair was still there. After a while, he stopped checking as often. A few days before Christmas, Noah asked if we could put his stuffed dog in the chair the way Grandma would. So we did. We made it a quiet little ceremony without calling it that. On Christmas Eve, Aaron read to him in the living room while I sat in the armchair by the lamp. The same book Elise used to read to Aaron when he was small. Noah leaned into the rhythm of the words and the warmth of the blanket. And when he finally fell asleep, Aaron didn't move for a long time. Neither did I. Later, when Aaron carried Noah to the car, he paused at the front door and looked back toward the hallway. I didn't realize how close I came to letting someone change his whole world, he said quietly. You saw it when it mattered, I replied. Now we just keep it that way. He nodded. Then he added, almost like he was admitting something to himself. I'm not sharing private family information with anyone again, not unless it's necessary. That's a good rule, I said, and we'll keep everything else in writing. He gave me a tired smile. You and your paperwork. It's boring, I said. That's the point. After they left, I cleaned the kitchen slowly. Just a few plates, a wiped counter, The ordinary end of an ordinary day. I stood at the sink for a moment and looked out into the dark yard where Elise's garden beds rested under winter rain. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I felt like I'd protected something. In late January, a neighbor from 2 streets over stopped me while I was getting mail. We'd exchanged the usual polite hellos for years without much else. He cleared his throat and said, "You're good with family stuff, right?" I didn't answer right away. I just listened. He went on, uncomfortable. "My sister moved in with me, temporary, and now she's talking about helping manage my finances, asking questions, making calls I didn't ask for." I nodded once. Same pattern, different house. I told him, calmly, "Start with the basics. Put things in writing, lock down access, and don't argue in circles. You set the rules, then you follow them." He looked relieved in a way that told me he'd been needing permission to take himself seriously. When I got back home, I went into the workshop and ran my hand over the walnut scrap I'd saved from Elise's chair. Just a small piece, smooth and dark, nothing special to anyone else. Then I picked up my tools and kept working on the little jewelry box I'd started for Noah's next birthday. I took my time, measured twice, cut once, the way Elise always did. Because some things are handled with raised voices, and some things are handled with steady hands, clear rules, and quiet follow-through. If you've been listening and you enjoy stories like this, stories about boundaries, family, and keeping your footing when someone tries to take it, please like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments what city you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. 2 popular stories will appear next, and I'll see you there.